I'm Danielle Dulchinos, and I'm the maker of the 1780s Closed Gown Petticoat from Patterns of Fashion 6. The original dress is housed in the Torelli collection and is made of a silk piqué with facings of plain weave silk and calendared linen. The skirt has interior ties so it can be worn down or drawn up into a polonaise style. My recreation is made from a figured silk with glazed linen and silk taffeta facings. I chose a dress before the advent of the sewing machine because I really wanted to challenge myself with a completely hand-sewn garment. The embroidery work is originally what drew me to this dress because I had never done this type of embroidery before. I also really liked that it was remade in the late 19th or early 20th century, so it has some interesting little details that are anachronistic of the 18th century. The embroidery and the decorative elements were the most time-consuming and challenging parts of this process. They were also definitely the most rewarding. The gauze pleat alone is almost 17 yards of hand-cut and hand-roll-hemmed silk gauze. The embroidery on this dress is a mix of metal bullion thread, couched silk ribbon, and various size spangles. Due to time and budget constraints, I was only able to do the metal bullion on the bodice of the dress, but the ribbon work and the spangles are done throughout as they were done on the original. I used a combination of methods to transfer the embroidery lines from the pattern to my fabric. To get the location of the ribbon lines, I used a tracing wheel and paper. Then I used a light box and a photocopy of page 127 in Patterns of Fashion 6, which has a 1-to-1 ratio illustration of the embroidery motif. One of the challenges that I ran into early in the process was that there are a couple of pieces that have facings that were not noted in the pattern. So the fronts, for instance, have facings that fold to the back, and that was not noted in the pattern, and I didn't realize until a little later, so I had to recut some of those pieces. One of the things I love about Patterns of Fashion is how meticulous Janet Arnold was with her notes and her photographs. So anytime the book noted a stitch length, I tried to also do the same stitch length. Similarly, any piecing in the original garment, I also recreated in my own. Most of the stitch lengths given were about 6 to 10 stitches per inch, but the side back seam has the smallest at 19 stitches per inch. One of my favorite details about this dress is that the boning in the back of the bodice is actual baleen boning, just like in the extant garment. I was gifted it for this project by Dr. Karen Bolicki of the Fashion Archives and Museum of Shippensburg University, and I learned so much through using the actual material that the 18th century makers had used. The front two bones in the extant garment are straight steel, as those were added in the later alterations. So the front two bones of my bodice are also straight steel, covered by a twill tape. Other details from the alterations in the late 19th or early 20th century are the pocket slits being sewn up. So I actually made the calendared linen-faced pocket slits as it was done in the original 18th century dress, only to sew them back up again. The lacing strips on the interior bodice were also outfitted with hooks, presumably to hook onto a stomacher, although it's not noted in Patterns of Fashion 6 whether or not the stomacher in the photos was added during the later alterations, or whether it's a modern-day addition added to better display the dress. Although this project took almost 500 hours, including multiple research visits to study extant garments, I learned so much through the process, and I'm so proud of how my dress turned out.